Josh, are you gonna come out or not?
I don't know, I kind of feel stupid.
Well, I mean, that's kind of the point.
Yeah, but it's a little dumber than normal.
Oh my god, it's fun. Come on, it's fun, babe.
Alright, you're right, alright. On this week's episode, we're going back to the 80s and we're going to check out some sword and sorcery flicks. That's right. I'm so afraid I'm going to wipe out here, but we're going to check out some classic films featuring some swordplay, maybe some dragons, some demons and creatures, but one thing we won't be seeing is any franchises that I plan to cover in other videos, like there's no Conan here, sadly no Barbarian Queen, and most of all, no Ator, but I promise you, you're gonna see some strange things that involve me in a loincloth.
Number 10. 1987 gave us Gore from Fritz Kirsch, the director of the original Children of the Corn, and was based on a novel from 1966 called Tarnsman of Gore. This one actually starts on Earth in modern times and follows Tarl here, and that's his name, Tarl. And he gets dumped for this guy. And I mean, he shouldn't be insulted, because this guy goes on to replace Liam Neeson as Darkman too, so being replaced by him just, I don't know, seems kind of to put you in good company, right? Anyway, this magic ring transports him to another world full of barbarians on horseback, and this thing called the Homestone, which I guess is this town's sacred spirit of their people, but it's just like out in the open like this. This guy is really turned up for what appears to be a chewed up piece of bubblegum from under a desk. Oh, and Sarm here is actually the great Oliver Reed, and Tarl, really, Tarl and Sarm, and they're in the Sardar Mountains. It's like everyone's name is just slightly difficult to roll off your tongue. So the land is called Gore, and Tarl becomes wrapped up in a power struggle and learns to fight and teams up with the resistance, including Talina here, and run across this guy. And he's mean, you know that he's mean. Eventually, Tarl gets to Sardar to confront Sarm, and yeah, say that 5 times fast, and I would hate to be a woman on Gore, since every one of them here is either a slave or about to be a slave, and treated like crap. Tarl frees the captive king, and Reed seems to be the only one who knows what he's in here, and he just hams it up a bunch. And then, with like 7 minutes left in the movie to go, Jack Palance just randomly shows up for like a minute, and Tarl returns home with the Homestone and sets itself up for a sequel, because that arrived 1 year later with Gore 2, or Outlaw of Gore, now directed by John Bud Cardos, and good old Tarl is back, and he and a random jerky friend are transported back to Gore. Zeno is back and is plotting some evil stuff, and did I mention that Tarl's last name is Cabot?
My name is Cabot.
Cabot?
Cabot!
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 Cabot? Cabot! 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 Cabot!
Cabot!
Cabot!
Cabot!
Excuse me.
Cabot!
He's reunited with Talina, but King Marlanus is killed by his wife with the help of treacherous Watney, and gets into fights with this girl who just really goes for it here. And damn, Zeno has some sharp taste in hats. Women are still pretty much just treated as livestock in this world, and Cabot gets trapped, and Zeno gets betrayed himself, and there's an arena fight that ends with everyone just kind of, I guess, deciding that everyone should just be free, like they killed the queen, and all the guards just decide that they're changing allegiances on a whim. And so on a side note, there's actually a fandom called Gorean subculture that stems from the book series that these movies are based on. It's a BDSM-based culture and is responsible for a few UK sex cults, and yeah, that's a legitimate thing. Number 9, we're going all the way back to 1980 now, actually before Conan, with Hawk the Slayer, which once again features Jack Palance. I mean, what are the odds? He's the evil Voltan here, and he kills his dad, and it's up to his brother Hawk to take this sword with a fist on it.
I do not want to read too much into this.
The sword is magic and obeys his commands, and it has this pretty wild disco theme. And Hawk is not your typical action hero guy, although he was one of the Bond Felixes, and he's good with that sword. Palance really has a blast, and Veruca Salt's dad is here. And hold on, because Voltan here is supposed to be Hawk's older brother, but the age difference between the actors is actually 31 years. And oddly enough, the actor that played their father was only 3 years older than Jack. So Hawk needs to get revenge against Voltan, searching for recruits and ending up in those things to keep General Zod in place, recruiting a giant, an elf, and a dwarf, and they seek Voltan and his wicked son.
And then, Voltan, we'll see who is the lord of the dance.
It's Michael Flatley.
The team gets betrayed, and this leads to a final face-off in which Luke uses his lightsaber to defeat Lord Vader before the Emperor comes to claim his body, or something. So the film didn't do too well, although they tried to get a sequel going in 1981 called Hawk the Destroyer, but it didn't happen, and attempts to make more Hawk haven't really gone anywhere. A Kickstarter back in 2015 tried to get a sequel called Hawk the Hunter made, but was unsuccessful. And even though some people look at it like a cult classic, others think, well...
Hawk the Slayer's rubbish.
Number 8, another entry from 1983, which was kind of the big year for these movies, is Thor. Not that Thor. This is Thor the Conqueror, and starts with the usual. Baby is born, parents are slaughtered by invading horde. Sword turning into snake. Thor grows up having been raised by an owl. Alright? I guess the owl is a magician, though, and he's also the narrator that Thor just kind of casually pushes around. I guess he's like 20 or something, but has never seen a woman, because when they encounter some slaves, he actually asks what she is, and saves her life.
The female is stupid. Have your way with her. Take her. She's yours. Don't treat the woman so gently.
Oh, I get it. These aren't the good guys. They're the movie's introducing the bad guys first. I get it.
But oh no, Thor, look out for that dancing skeleton from an 8th grade haunted house. He has to fight some Amazons, and he doesn't kill one. I mean, that's nice. And he then takes her captive and tells her that she's going to have his babies while tied and kept in his cave. So yeah, definitely this guy is the villain of the film. So when do they introduce the hero? I mean, who's going to stop the murder rapist? Well, his slave saves his life, and I guess gets Stockholm syndrome like really fast. And one interesting thing is that there's very little dialogue in this movie. People mostly just grunt at each other. He's taken in by a tribe, and yep, still a dick to everyone at all times. When his mortal enemy Newt blinds him, it's kind of hard to feel bad. I mean, so will Thor kill the guy who killed his dad before the woman he raped gives birth to his child?
I mean, do we care?
Number 7, possibly one of the most overlooked entries in this genre, is 1983's Hundra from Matt Cimber, the creator of the glorious Ladies of Wrestling. This gives us a tribe of Amazons and their champion Hundra, played by Maniac Cop's Laureen Landon. A squad of barbarians lay waste to their village, and just so you know, 90% of all sword and sorcery movies start with the hero's village being destroyed by an invading horde. Maybe even 92%. Hundra gets the last laugh though by, well, slaughtering all of them while eating a turkey leg. She's told that to keep the Amazons going, she has to go out and have a baby, and we meet our villain and his servant.
Women may be inherently ignorant, but not totally stupid in most instances.
I should point out that one of the main cool parts of this film is the soundtrack by the legendary Ennio Morricone. And Hundra goes on the hunt for a man while trying to free a bunch of slave girls, stabbing dudes in the junk with spears while laughing. And here's a fun fact. Landon did all of her own stunts with the exception of this fall. She meets Patere here, and I guess she likes him.
You were made with me like a child.
And she won't take no for an answer.
I guess it's about time a dude got threatened with rape in one of these things.
It's kind of nice to know that the S&S genre is equal opportunity rapey. She's captured and made to embrace her feminine side and properly seduce her chosen sperm donor, and she gets pregnant and time passes until she gives birth to a little girl who then gets kidnapped, leading to her final showdown in the temple. And this one starts off pretty strong, but gets a little slow in the middle portion, although the ending is a pretty fun and violent battle. The film had a sort of a sequel the following year with Yellow Hair and the Fortress of Gold, which Simber also directed and starred Landon again, and used some of the same sets and actors, but is all different characters and is sort of a western and says, sort of like an Indiana Jones knockoff. Number 6. Wait, what's that? What's that you say? Swords, Sandals, and Lucio freaking Fulci? Yes, please, with 1983's Conquest. And I hope you're ready for this one. So, Ilias here is sent on a quest in Blurry World, and there's this tribe that's besieged by wolfmen who just chop folks' heads open and pull people in half at the behest of a mostly naked Okron. So, bear with me here. Okron has a vision of being killed by a faceless man who looks like Ilias, so she sends her crew out to find him. So he teams up with Wild Hunter Mace, and everything about this movie has this weird dreamlike quality to it, and was apparently filmed using a soft focus lens, a fog machine, and filters in order to give it that unusual styling. Ilias almost gets killed, but he's saved at the last minute by Mace. And then he gets poisoned, and of course, since this is Fulci, Mace has to fight some zombies in order to save him at the last minute. And then Mace gets attacked by web creatures who are looking for Ilias, who actually saves him for once, and his bow, like Hank the Ranger, with an assist by some friendly dolphins, because why not? And after all that, while they're just chilling, and I guess this is a huge spoiler, so I look away, but there's no way I'm not mentioning this because it's just so out of the blue, but Mace just finds Ilias with his head cut off. I mean, it's so crazy and completely out of the blue. And I mean, yeah, if you're a Fulci fan, this one is kind of a must-see. It's not the greatest flick. It's pretty boring in the middle section, but it's just so odd with its ethereal visuals and total lack of cohesive storytelling that you should check it out. Number 5. Oh man, for some reason I am very excited to talk about 1983's You're the Hunter from the Future, since it's one of those movies that I saw 100 times as a kid and thought was just an awesome movie until I got older and saw it again for what it was. And what it is delightfully silly cheese. This one has the OG Captain America in a sort of a caveman world, and there's dinos here, and look at how awesome this thing is. And as to be expected, a bunch of marauders destroys the little village that he's staying at. I mean, there's just so much to love here. He flies in on a hang glider dinosaur, becoming an action figure while doing so. And there's a weird love triangle thing that happens that Yor is like hilariously oblivious to. I mean, all he does is smile at everything. And then get ready for awesomely silly dinosaur battles, but then this one takes a wild turn as there's laser beams and radios in this film's shocking twist, which isn't really a twist if you, read the title, and knew that Yor was the hunter from the future. And the last half hour of this film merges the sword and sorcery world with Star Wars, basically, leading to robot minions, mirror realms, and the evil overlord. It's a pretty bonkers movie with one hell of a silly theme song. And an odd switch between some actually cool full-size dinosaur effects and then these terrible and hysterical doll stuff. There's so many dolls in this film that you start to wonder where the dream house is. Watch it and have some fun and mix a little SF with your S&S. Number 4. Still in the earlier part of the 80s, we have 1982's Sorceress, directed by cult film legend Jack Hill, with a script by Jim Wynorski, who kicks off with an evil wizard, of course, because that's required, and it's Trigon here, who must kill his firstborn child. But his wife is clever and has twins, and won't tell him which is the first. He's killed and the girls are saved and raised as boys, and we cut to 20 years later, and Trigi is reborn, and the girls encounter this thing. I mean, this is terrifying. Apparently his dong is visible.
What's that? Which he carries there, hanging between his legs.
So ladies, just imagine that you're hanging out and this satyr just rolls up swinging beans on you.
Appropriate response.
Of course, their village is destroyed, so they jump into battle, and yeah, I can see how everyone would be fooled. How would anyone know that they were truly women? They team up with Balder here and his companion Pando, and yeah, I just can't get over how freaky looking this thing is. And imagine how much weirder he'd look if he were played by Sid Haig like they had originally intended. They also encounter this guy, who is equally odd, with clearly dubbed audio.
You throw yourself at this barbarian dog.
And team up with Erlich, a barbarian. When they capture the girls, there's a big to-do about finding out which is the firstborn, but yeah, I mean, why not just kill them both? I mean, it doesn't seem like it's required to only kill the firstborn, so what's the issue? And oh yeah, there's also this monkey man thing, and nope. I'm going back to it. I'm going back to Pando. I don't want this whole thing to be about him, but I think he's supposed to be the lovable little sidekick guy, but look at him. I mean, here's his lower region, right? Here it is. Nothing but fur, right? That's all you see, fur. No unusual exposure. But earlier, when he was looking at the girls in the lake, they talked about how visible that his pan flute was. They saw it from a distance, which can only mean one thing. He specifically took out his parts while observing two women skinny dipping.
Our Jar Jar Binks character, ladies and gentlemen.
And wait. They tell the monkey man that if they manage to kill the firstborn, he's allowed to rape the other one. And I guess they play this dice game in which you have to match the symbols, and those are apparently moons, serpents, and swastikas. And then to execute this guy, they strip him naked, tie him to a pole, and then let him slide down onto this spike headed up into his butt. What is this movie now?
What is this?
Eventually, both of them end up in Trigon's hands, and the moment you've been waiting for, the epic team-up of Pando and Monkey Man. Yay! There's zombies, and they call upon their spirit animal, which is this fantastic lion puppet thing, which has to fight the evil goddess with a half-reptile face that spits laser beams that actually makes lightsaber sounds. And it's like they got to the end of this thing, and they were writing it, and they were just like, what happens? And then said, screw it, everything happens. Everything at once. Of course, in keeping with the theme here, when the zombie warriors attack, their first instinct is to rape the women that they see, because, of course, and lightning attack! And yeah, this one is insane. I can't call it good, but I can certainly call it entertaining. Number 3. Jump ahead slightly to 1987's The Barbarians from Canon Films, so you know it's going to be schlocky, and it was directed by Ruggero Deodato of Cannibal Holocaust fame. We kick off with a band of warriors led by the always evil Richard Lynch, who kidnaps Queen Canary here, with Michael Berryman as a minion, and they curse twin boys who then grow up to become the Barbarian brothers, two real-life twin brothers who often acted together. And oddly, they age around 20 years or so, while everyone else looks exactly the same. It should be noted that they received a nomination for a Razzie for the year for Worst New Stars for this film. And one of the brothers passed away just last year. Out of all the movies on the list, they're probably the silliest heroes, and they go on a quest to find a sacred ruby, fighting werewolves, and just making that weird noise the whole time. They take on this awesome dragon thing, which is just delightfully goofy, and the ending fight of this one is weird since Lynch just randomly shows up where the heroes are, which is really convenient for everyone involved. But I had a blast with this one. It's pretty lightweight, but it's just a lot of silly fun. Number 2, probably the pinnacle of the genre for me, came in 1982's The Sword and the Sorcerer, which was the debut film from Albert Pyun, who would go on to make Alien from L.A., Cyborg, and the Captain America movie where he had the rubber ears. Richard Lynch is here again, and a witch with this kick-ass wall of faces that damaged my young nightmares, and they revive an ancient sorcerer played by Bull, but then betray him after using his powers to take over. Cromwell kills Prince Talon's family, but luckily he has what is the main reason why I remembered this one, and easily the second coolest weapon on this list, with this triple-edged sword that can launch its blades at you. 11 years pass, and Talon's looking for revenge, and so is Zushia, still alive, and Alana here hires Talon to rescue her brother, and gets captured, setting up a pretty memorable finale in which Talon is crucified and has to pull his hands free to join the final battle and face off against Cromwell and eventually Zushia. And if I had a complaint about this one, it's that it's called The Sword and the Sorcerer, and yet the sword is only a small portion of the film. That amazing rocket blade thing is only used in the beginning and then brought back at the very end, but it steals every scene that it's in. And the Sorcerer is absent from the film for a little bit too long, although he does provide some fantastic and memorable practical effects at the close. And I don't know, maybe it's the nostalgia talking, but I still love this one. I think it's one of the best of the genre. The end credits promise a sequel and that Talon would return in Tales of the Ancient Empire, and even though the film made a ton of money, it took until 2010 for that to happen, with Talon returning, although it's considered only a sequel in spirit, and with Kevin Sorbo involved, you could call it disappointed! If you're a fan of the original, or having a fond memory of it, and had no clue that there was a sequel and your interest is now piqued, just forget I said it. Don't seek it out.
In this case, ignorance is truly bliss.
Number 1. Alright, that takes us to our number 1 with 1983's Krull, and it's probably the most notable entry in the genre outside of the Conan movies, and it is really a little bit weird due to the sort of sci-fi elements of the film, but it's a sword and sorcery film at heart, even if the look is a little bit different than its counterparts. Directed by Peter Yates, most known for action films and dramas, gave us this story of a mystical land invaded by a dark force from space. There's a young couple about to be married, interrupted by the evil slayers, who make a really similar sound when they die as the Flash Gordon movie things. So now I'm surprised that no one has made up a fan theory linking the two films yet. Colwyn is different than most of the fantasy heroes from this time. I mean, first of all, they show him bust into hysterical tears, going against a lot of the tropes of the genre of having their main character be as manly and tough as possible. Also, he wears these pants.
You know, I'd have rocked these back when I was skinnier.
So this movie is basically remembered for a few things, and one of them is this, the glaive, the coolest weapon that you're going to see today. It's like a boomerang had a baby with Freddy's glove. Its other notable contribution is early appearances by Liam Neeson and Robbie Coltrane. And wait a minute, Robbie Coltrane was also in Flash Gordon.
See? It's all connected. All connected.
It's also got some fun practical effects, including this Cyclops, this cool stop-motion spider, and the ultimate villain, the Beast, in a full-body suit. Some of the optical effects don't really hold up, but they're about the only thing, because even though I hadn't seen this in a while, it's still immensely enjoyable, with fun action, great characters, and an interesting immersive world. Sadly, the film was a massive box office bomb when it was released, so there was never any follow-up, but it's gone on to reach a cult status, and if you haven't seen it, pop it on, sit back, and prepare to be transported to a magic land called Krull.
So there you have it. It's 10 films of sword and sorcery from the 1980s. I hope you enjoyed these. I have a special soft spot in my heart for these. I know I'll be covering some of the other things I talked about earlier in other timelines and such, and also I sort of wanted to include the Masters of the Universe movie, but did not. The main reason why I didn't is because that mostly takes place on Earth. It didn't really feel like it fit in here with these other movies. But there's a lot of good stuff in here. There's a lot of interesting things to watch. A couple of these I would not worry about but I'd probably watch at least 7 out of these 10 movies are worth watching and a lot of fun. If you've seen them or want to see them or have anything to say about them, please let me know in the comments below. Tell me what you think of Sword and Sorcery films and which other ones you want to see me cover in the future. And of course, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, check out the patrons because these guys keep the channel going and I appreciate it all the time. Thank you guys for helping to support the channel. You can support the channel as well too by going to patreon.com/movietimelines and kicking over some funds to help out. But in the meantime, just keep watching and I'll see you shortly for another great video. Come on, that's your cue. That's your cue. That's.
I mean, really? Is this what you want to do?
Yeah, yes, I want. If I'm doing this, come on, help me. All right, do it. Here we go. Frank Frazetta, this is for you. This is for you, buddy.
Maybe we should have practiced.
I don't know, possibly. Here we go.
Is this everything you'd imagine
Yes.
it would feel?
It is. I want to just keep doing it.